Pete Thamel from Yahoo joining us now to talk a little hoops. Hey, Pete, thanks for coming on with us, man. Much appreciated.
Hey, guys, what's going on?
Another Syracuse guy, as we look at Thamel's resume here, as Brockman is nodding his head in approval. Pete, my agent's from Syracuse. I did a football game for the AAF over the weekend. My sideline reporter was from Syracuse. My producer was from Syracuse. I mean, what's in the water up there? It's unbelievable. I can't get away from you guys.
Yeah, it's kind of like a mafia. Yeah, we just sort of slowly surround and suffocate you. So
yeah,
they're everywhere. You can't escape.
You guys are everywhere. I'm sure there's
defense.
There's some.
You got your hands in your face.
there's probably some guys from that selection committee from Syracuse as well. This might be the best job they've ever done. All the top 12 seeds move on for the first time in a decade. Is that good or bad for the tournament?
Well, I mean, look, is it good? The actual tournament, it's great because they're going to get monster ratings and great games. But I think it's terrible for the tournament. I just say there's, when Oregon with its $1 billion, Nike deal, and that's an exaggeration, but, Phil Knight's giving them hundreds of millions of dollars. When they're your plucky double-digit seed, that's all you need to know about, sort of where this is. But there's no one to root for. There's just, it's like there's a bunch of like Apple versus Microsoft matchups in the next round. I mean, the magic of March is, like you guys were saying, Sturgeon and George Mason and VCU and Butler, and there's just no magic, just really good games.
Let's look back before we look forward for a moment. For me, I think the most memorable moment of the first week of the tournament was John Morant.
Can you speak up? I'm not hearing you very well.
Yeah, let me talk a little bit louder. You hear me okay, Pete?
Yeah, I got you a little bit now. It's really faint. I apologize.
No worries. John Morant, for me, the most memorable thing about the first weekend, outside of maybe the Duke UCF game, was there one thing in particular or two that maybe stood out to you the most from the first week?
Yeah, so I was in Hartford covering for Yahoo the John Morant show, and it was fantastic. I mean, that game against Marquette was one of the best individual performances I've ever seen on a basketball court. He was just so dominant and just did so many things at such a high level that I could not have been more impressed with the way he played. He passes like Ben Simmons. He's got a Russell Westbrook first step, shot the ball really, really well, even in that Florida State game when the team was clearly overwhelmed. Yeah, this was, the first weekend will be remembered for that John Morant moment. And that was really, other than our friends, the Anteaters, the only, significant upset. But let's face it, Murray was only a 3-point underdog. The difference between the sort of mid-major flotsam and jetsam, high major flotsam and jetsam sludge that sort of is just, eked its way into the tournament year after year, the St. John's, the Arizona States, those types of teams, even like a team like Ole Miss, I know they were a 9 seed, but they would, they just got blasted. The difference between them and the really high end mid-majors, a team like Murray, but you look at places like Furman and Greensboro and other teams, there's really not that much difference between those caliber programs. And Murray was a blast to watch against Marquette, and it was because of John.
Who has the easiest path among the top seeds? Would you say that's Virginia, just because Oregon's next up in the bracket?
Yeah, I mean, look, Oregon was as high in the top 15 this year, and then they had a bunch of injuries and had to sort of reinvent themselves after Bol Bol got hurt, Kenny Wooten broke his nose, or they just. Oregon's a really good basketball team. So, they're probably, I picked them to get this far. I just thought they were pretty good. I actually picked them to beat Virginia. So I don't know. Virginia's biggest demon is going to be Virginia, right? Like, how do they handle the stage? They haven't handled it well, not only against UMBC last year, but at different points in the tournament. They've not only lost, but they've lost authoritatively at times, and their offense is just ground to a halt. So, maybe that slow start against Gardner-Webb helped them exercise some of those demons. But it's hard to say anyone has a really easy path because, there's statistically there really isn't one. So it's, I think we're really due to have a historic weekend of great games. And we're, quite frankly, just statistically we're due some great games because there weren't that many this opening weekend.
No, that's a great point. And, talking earlier about John Morant, if he was the most impressive player that you saw in the tournament. Who's been the most impressive team? Did I see correctly that Gonzaga hasn't lost in 100 days?
Well, no, that's wrong because they lost to St. Mary's.
St. Mary's, I think they lost once in 100. They haven't lost a ton. Would they be the most impressive team so far or no?
Yeah, I mean, Gonzaga's really good, and I honestly, just because of tip times and covering my own games, didn't get to see much of them in the first round. I'll say this: I took Carolina to win, and nothing that I saw has really backed me off that. They just obliterated that zone, which they've done. I think they beat Syracuse 8 straight times, so it wasn't a surprise that they were ready to handle that zone. Yeah, I'm really still bullish on Carolina, and I think they're the best overall team. Duke obviously has the best high-end talent, not only with Zion, but his crew with Reddish and Barrett and Jones. But at the end of the day, Duke is very thin, and you need to win tournament games in different ways. They're not a good three-point shooting team. They're not a good free-throw shooting team. There are vulnerabilities that make a Duke loss from this point on would not be shocking.
I think everybody has some vulnerabilities. It's just who has the fewest. Let me ask you about my Tennessee Volunteers for a minute. In the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2014. They held that #1 ranking for around 3 weeks during the regular season. I've seen a lot of people who have picked Tennessee to pick somebody other than Duke to win the tournament. A lot of great senior leaders. I obviously I'm biased, but I love the way that this team plays. Because I believe that they are a true team. And during the regular season, I thought that they had a shot to win it all. Certainly, I don't think anybody, as you mentioned, has 3 top 5 picks like Duke does. But there's some NBA players on this roster, and there's some guys who can win you ball games, more than just 2 guys. There's probably 3 guys that you can count on in crunch time here.
Yeah, look, I picked Tennessee to make the Final Four. I think they are very good. It'll be interesting as they go on because Tennessee's weakness is they don't have the highest end talent, and they're eventually going to have to face high end talent. So the narrative will be like team versus talent, that kind of thing, because they are an excellent college basketball team, and Rick Barnes has done a fantastic job. Rick Barnes historically is not a great NCAA tournament coach. He's 0 for 5 in 8-9 games, which is just kind of amazing if you sit and think about it. And some of those demons obviously almost popped up against Iowa the other day. So it'd be interesting. It's an interesting narrative on Tennessee. They've clearly overachieved for who they are. Nobody thought they'd be this good, right? But if you lose early in the tournament after overachieving, people think you underachieve for the season. It's a funny tension in line there that Barnes is straddling. I give him all kinds of credit. He's done a wonderful job, and it'll be fascinating to see as the matchups become heavyweight matchups how Tennessee matches up.
Talking about overachieving, the Yale over LSU pick in the first round was very popular in a lot of brackets. And then LSU beats a Maryland team that was at times very good throughout the course of the season. Their head coach has been suspended. They're surprised at all. I mean, I know they're a 3 seed, and they have a tough matchup against Michigan State. To see LSU, who might, many have said, in terms of athleticism and talent, might be the second best team in the tournament.
Yeah, I think they could be the most athletic team in the tournament. Them, Florida State, just when you go 1 to 9, they're huge, they're massive, they're athletic. They can physically match up with any team in the country. It'd be interesting to see Tony Benford kind of wasted the game away against Florida in the SEC tournament. He got a really bad technical that led to a 6-point possession that caused a huge swing in that game. And obviously the caliber of teams LSU is going to be facing, and the caliber of coaches, quite frankly, it could be Tom Izzo and Coach K. You'd have to think there's a mismatch there. That's the team the NCAA has got to be rooting hardest against, because when your coach is suspended on after a report that he's been on a wiretap talking about an offer to a player, it's not exactly a shining moment that I think Mark Emmert and crew would want.
Matchup you're most looking forward to in the Sweet 16? Is it a Duke, Virginia Tech, an LSU, Michigan State, maybe a North Carolina, Auburn?
So I'm going to be in D.C., so I'm really looking forward to Duke, Virginia Tech. It was a heck of a game in Blacksburg. Duke lost without Zion there. Virginia Tech is a very big, old, veteran, well-coached team. The Hokies are going to show out in D.C. That's this huge alumni base there. So, and anytime Zion's in arena, like, it's electric. So I would probably say that game is the one I'm looking forward to the most.
Quickly, before we let you go, no Zion in that game, but people don't talk that much about it. Our friend Seth Davis said it last night. Justin Robinson, the starting point guard at the time for Virginia Tech, didn't play in that game either.
Yes, and Justin Robinson's one of the 10 best players in the ACC. Is in his return is really, really gives Virginia Tech a legitimate shot to go to the Final Four.
Wow, Hokies in the Final Four. That will be a lot of happy fans there. You're right. A big Hokie fan base there in Washington, D.C. Pete Thamel from Yahoo, formerly of Sports Illustrated and the New York Times. Hey, Pete, enjoy the run, my friend. I think it is the best sporting event of the year to cover, man. I am very jealous that you're going to be in D.C. getting a chance to watch these games.
Yeah, thanks so much. Appreciate you guys having me.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.